Things just got a bit worse for Ubisoft since I did my previous video. Here I discussed the fact that both Mario + Rabbids and Just Dance 2023 underperformed and discussed them to make some drastic changes. They delayed Skull and Bones again and cancelled 3 games. Well, we now learned what one of those games that got cancelled is, and that these developers got moved to a different project, which is quite interesting. The Ubisoft CEO has also been under fire, and rightfully so, and seems that we know all the big games that they plan to launch in the next 16 months. So there's a ton to go over. Of course, if you are curious and at any point enjoy the video, then leaving a like would really help me out. Subscribe for way more content like this, and let's go. Maybe you already heard about the email Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot sent to everyone at the company after announcing the recent poor sales performance. Here he noted that the ball is in your court to deliver this lineup on time and at the expected level of quality and show everyone what we're capable of achieving. Well, as you maybe expect, this did not sit well with a ton of developers, as it kinda shifts responsibility and feels as if the leadership is saying, here, fix our mess. So Kotaku now also reported on a company-wide Q&A that happened after this news, with the top comment from developers being, the ball is now in our court. For years it has been in your court, so why did you mishandle the ball so badly? So we, the workers, have to fix it for you. And this other developer question to Yves that received hundreds of upvotes from other Ubisoft employees is also spot on. It appears that management is out of touch with games, saying that we need to adapt to an evolving industry. Why are we chasing trends instead of setting them? And I think that's a fair question. Like, remember Ubisoft at the start of the previous generation, so PS4 and Xbox One, they were kind of on top of their game with huge new IP that people were really excited to play. Okay, some titles like Watch Dogs did not live up to the hype of that reveal trailer, but still sold insanely well, becoming the biggest launch for a new IP in the UK. The First Division was the biggest launch for a Ubisoft game ever, and also one of the first big live service titles in the industry. Around this time, they successfully made Rainbow Six popular for a massive new audience with Siege, and the open world approach for Ghost Recon was the right move, making Wildlands the best-selling game of March 2017, even though Zelda Breath of the Wild and Horizon Zero Dawn released in that same month as well. Something that seems unthinkable 5 years later. Like, this 2014 to 2017 period were, in my opinion, some of the golden years for Ubisoft, when they exactly knew what people would be interested in and made games that a ton of other developers would be looking at for years to come. But then something happened, and no, I don't think it's the fact that developers did not work hard anymore or that they stopped putting effort in. No, it was clearly the management that made horrible decisions to turn Ghost Recon Breakpoint into a Destiny-type online RPG with a gear score and a rate. As you might know, Watch Dogs Legion had huge RPG elements as well, which they changed before launch, but still the shift from a story-focused game with lovable characters to a more multiplayer project really killed the series. And there were raids in Watch Dogs Legion as well. You get the point, and now Ubisoft is way late on the free-to-play trend. Like, Apex Legends is turning 4 years old in a few weeks, and Ubisoft still does not have a successful free-to-play launch. So yeah, it's not a good look to say the ball is in your court when the people at the top clearly screwed up. Now, Yves noted that he did not mean it that way, but more that he needs everyone's talent and energy so that their upcoming lineup releases on time and at the expected quality. And cancelling these 3 recent games should help with that. I predicted that one of them would be Project Q, and well, they confirmed that that's indeed the case. This was a battle arena game that Commander Snuggles on Reddit played, saying that it was pretty bad and that they clearly just thought people like myths like Thor, he's pretty popular, people like battle royales, people like the Fortnite art style, it appeals to the masses, let's combine them all, and then they did not put much more thought into it. Again, it sounds like bad management to me. A Ubisoft employee told Tom Henderson that they had known of at least a dozen Battle Royale games in various stages of development at one time. Like, that seems like way too much. And that's after Hyperscape completely flopped. Like, they probably spent tens of millions of dollars on that and got nothing in return. So it's good that, even though it's quite late, they finally come to their senses and are freeing up these people so they can work on games that are actually important for the company right now. Kotaku understands that developers on some of the recently cancelled projects will pivot to helping ship games like Assassin's Creed Mirage, We know about many internal delays for Mirage already, like it was first planned for February 2023. So I think it's smarter to give Ubisoft Bordeaux all the help they can get to make this as good as possible, and also to make sure that it launches in 2023. Like, this game cannot slip to 2024 if they also have Assassin's Creed Red planned at the end of that year. I would also argue that a lot is riding on Mirage. Like, if this is a letdown, Ubisoft will probably lose a big part of the old school AC fanbase. Now, they do seem confident though, with employees at Ubisoft having told Insider Gaming that Assassin's Creed Mirage and Avatar Frontiers of Pandora are expected to do incredibly well for Ubisoft in fiscal year 24. So that's before April 2024. Like, if both games hit around the 80 on Metacritic, things will look completely different for Ubisoft this time next year. Although that's of course easier said than done. They're saying the right things, but we still have not seen Mirage gameplay, and before Mirage, Ubisoft Bordeaux was the lead team on Rev of the Druids, which has a 70 on Metacritic. And last we heard about Avatar was from Jeff Grubb in July 2022, saying that the game looks pretty, but that the gameplay was in rough shape. Now, they did of course delay the title to get an extra year of development time, so hopefully that's enough to turn it around. And as I discussed in my big previous video that I will link to in the video description, Ubisoft plans another major game for before April 2024. I always thought it was going to be a new Ghost Recon 4 years after Breakpoint, but on Twitter, Tom Henderson let me know that Over, which the codename for this new game, is having a huge rework and was described to me as still being in early development, which, knowing Ubi, means still a couple of years yet. I mean, it's good that they're taking the time, as that's really needed to get this franchise on track again, and we saw that with Breakpoint as well, that launched only 2.5 years after Wildlands. Well, we all know what happened to that game. Still though, it does fall in line with another issue that has been described by a Ubisoft developer, which is that games are just taking forever. The employee revealed that they've been working on an unannounced live service game since 2019, but the game isn't forecasted to release until 2025, 2026 at the earliest. I would not be surprised if this was Far Cry 7, by the way, but that is just a side note. Like, up to 7 years of development is a lot. Sure, games are getting bigger, more resources are required, but we're seeing other way smaller studios release similar titles way faster, so you would think that Ubisoft could improve a lot in this department. So not Ghost Recon, but the major IP Ubisoft was referring to is actually the new crew game called Motorfest that they also just announced. Normally they would not put the crew in the major IP category, but yeah, I guess it's kind of a major IP looking at the other titles that they plan to launch. Although it has casually been pretty successful. So the new game should be on a Hawaiian island. They want to focus on a smaller but denser open world this time around instead of a really large one. Every 30 seconds you should have an activity that you can do. And I personally don't really care for the crew myself, but I'm curious if they will like apply this tactic to, for example, Codename Red as well, that it will have a smaller world compared to Valhalla, but with more going on. I would actually prefer that. Either way, the Crew Motorfest should launch in 2023. They will do many insider sessions and betas throughout the year, and with that, every big upcoming Ubisoft game for the next financial year, which ends March 2024, has been revealed. And this is that full list shared by Tom Henderson from Insider Gaming, and I want to shout out Assassin's Creed Nexus here. That's the VR game. Seems like they're waiting for Oculus to get the green lights before they can start the marketing, but it should be pretty far along already. Like, we should be able to play multiple assassins and do like short 15 to 20 minute missions. I think it could be really cool, and I also love how Jade is noted on this list as well, the Odyssey style mobile game that I think can be a nice surprise. And next to the Netflix TV show, they also announced a smaller like mobile title, which will not include any in-game purchases, just like a fun game you can play on the Netflix app on your phone. So no gameplay of this yet, but should also be coming pretty soon, and this makes an Assassin's Creed showcase in 2023 more likely, because it seems that they got a ton of games planned for before April 2024. And just like in my last video, I still think it's good to put things into perspective. Yes, Ubisoft is doing really poorly right now, but one major hit can completely turn things around. Like, I did not talk about Assassin's Creed when I was talking about that kind of gold era for Ubisoft between 2014 and 2017, because these games, apart from Syndicate, have always been selling well. So even if Mirage is a letdown, I don't think that will happen. I have hope, But then Red, that is coming 1 year later from the Odyssey makers, will likely set things right. The Star Wars game made by the Division team has a ton going for it as well. It seems like they're making the right choice right now by, for example, sticking to single player Assassin's Creed games instead of like only making multiplayer ones. But it just takes a really long time before we actually see those things play out. So now we're still in that waiting game while we have Skull and Bones and Ex Valiant from the older Ubisoft era that still have to come out. We'll see how that goes, but after that I think things can only go up. I'll of course be following all the trends here and cover Avatar and everything AC and other Ubisoft games that I'm looking forward to here on the channel, so totally subscribe to not miss anything. A like would of course really help me out. Check out my video on what is next for Far Cry because we got some new rumors and leaks. You can watch it by clicking on the screen, and I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.